What's up, everybody? How we doing? What a conference, right? If we've been having a good time over this week? I don't think that was commensurate with how much fun we've had. Have we had a great time this week? My favorite part has been the morning runs. Absolutely exhausting. I didn't actually run, but hearing about them just tired me way out. It was incredible. Anyway, super glad to be here today. The first thing I wanted to start with, if we get slides, is I want to say thank you. This conference doesn't happen without a ton of people doing an amazing job. So I want to call everybody that's listed on this slide down. They're over here on the right, over here on your right, my left. This is Paulina, Martina, Kasia, Carolina, Wutzia, Kamil, Katya, Patrick, Michael, Marcin, and SmartSide Media. Michael, Christoph, our own Expo's Keith Kurak, Magdalena, and Alicia. Give them a huge 1, 2, 3, thank you! Absolutely incredible. Let's not forget about our sponsors as well: Expo, CodeRabbit, Revenue Cat, Code Magic, Infinite Red, Maestro, shit, I forgot this one, Screen Studio, Anime React, and This Week in React. Love that these companies are putting their money where their mouth is and bringing us together. Community is what React is all about, and that's what we're here to do. So thank you, thank you, thank you to all our sponsors. Yeah. So with your permission, I'm actually going to tell you a personal story. Would that be okay? It's kind of a tough one. So late in 2022, I was spending my time in Tucson, Arizona, where the 20-year battle against Parkinson's for my dad was coming to an end. And this was one of the hardest things I've ever been through. Parkinson's is a very ugly disease. It takes more than, it creates more than just shakes. It takes your body from you and it takes your mind from you. And I watched it happen for 20 years. And this is a story about my dad. My dad was this like super strong, physically imposing baseball umpire. He was an Old West movie actor, and he was just this strong, admirable guy. And at this point in his life, we'd come to this place where he couldn't speak. His hands were clenched shut, and he was confined to a bed. And he had that mask. If you've ever seen Parkinson's, they have this mask where they can no longer really even express their emotions through their face. And it was really hard to see this 20 years culminate, with my dad in this little tiny room in a nursing home in Tucson, Arizona. It was really, really, really a hard time. And the best thing I could do is I'd come in and sit with him. There was a Greasy Spoon down the street. A Greasy Spoon's like a diner. And I would come in and I would bring his favorite food to him in the morning, and I would feed him, and I would stroke his head, and I would hold his hand, and he would look at me with what I can only describe as pleading eyes. He would look at me, and I had absolutely no idea what to do for him or how to help him. I had learned to do so much in life, and I felt completely helpless. I knew how to build product, I knew how to build software, I knew how to build teams, I knew how to come up and do presentations, and I felt in this moment that nothing I had learned to do in my life mattered. Completely useless. And I hadn't seen him for a while, so this was all a big shock. The downturn in my mind was just so sharp and severe that seeing him like this really, really, crushed me. But I remember sitting there thinking to myself, isn't there something I could do with technology? Isn't there some way that I could maybe, I don't know, is there anything I could do that could help my dad communicate with me? And I thought, I have the tools, I know how to build things. And so a day and a half later of sitting with him, alternating between taking care of him and using React, of course, I had an app that was called Speakeasy, and it was basically the world's slowest LLM. My dad had the ability, he was still cognitively there, and so he could tap on the space bar. And so what I did is I created an app that would bring up one letter at a time, and he could tap when it was the right letter. And then it would bring up the only next possible letters one at a time, and he could tap out words this way. And after a while, it learned what were the most common words he did, and would instead bring words up. And in this way, I actually unlocked my dad. I was able to actually communicate with him after I thought I was no longer going to be able to do that anymore. And so his last couple weeks were filled with more of the things he wanted and more of the things he needed. And for me, I reflected on this after he was gone. We had him for about a week and a half after that. And I reflected a lot after he was gone about how many people had actually made it possible for me to unlock my dad and give him a better quality of life for the last couple weeks of his life. Hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, building the technology that made that possible. Many of those people are in the room today that build those things. And so I want to say a heartfelt thank you. And I also want to say that in this time where we're hearing more and more about the demise of software engineering and the demise of developers, that in my mind, this is proof that software is more human than ever. It is a human pursuit for human people, and we're just getting started with the way that AI is going to help unlock us. And I get it, man, like the industry feels really weird right now. Every single week there's a new model, there's a new benchmark, there's a new set of tools, more things for us to learn. But I don't know about you, but I've been in this industry for a really long time. And I remember back in the day before we had figured out all of the patterns we were going to use for highly available, connected system software, there was a lot of figuring it out during that time. And I feel like we're back in that mode where we are figuring out what the heck to do with all these new tools and these new responsibilities, and these new things that are at our disposal. But the discourse is very loud. Like, people are saying lots of things that could make us feel one way or another. Sometimes maybe we'll feel inspired and excited, and other times we're feeling kind of threatened by it. So I want to talk a little bit about my thoughts and how I'm thinking about this period right now. Is that okay? So first of all, I think we can all agree the pace is absurd. Like, this is actually ridiculous. Like, how many of you feel like, on a week-over-week basis, you're coming to a point where you're like, there's a new what? I just literally happened backstage. Somebody told me about something, and it was like, oh man, I got to go try that now. I haven't had a chance to try Argent yet, and I'm like, outside somebody was giving me the pitch on it, and I'm like so ready to like not do my talk and go play with that, So it's really exciting to see the pace of things, but it's also impossible to keep up with it. So, I want to come back to like this thought about that, development is going away. I think that what we actually are seeing is not that developers are going to disappear, it's that developers are being amplified. Every single person in this room, because you've built, if you're an engineer or developer, you've built these skills and abilities that are only going to mean that AI is going to supercharge you. The story is one of leverage, that you are now much more highly leverageable and leveraged than you ever were before. And let's talk about leverage. Leverage basically means being able to do more with your hands than you would be able to do otherwise, right? Your arms are now much stronger because you have leverage. And millions of developers around the world right now are suddenly gaining momentum. I think that we're ushering in the largest software change that we've ever seen in the history of human beings. I think things are going to change faster than we've ever seen. And we're not necessarily built for this, but we're going to adapt. Human beings always adapt. And it's going to be, for me, it's very inspiring to watch all the changes happening. So we're at this period of sort of leverage, but we're starting to really move into velocity, right? We're able to do more with our hands than we used to be able to do, and now we've started picking up speed. And in some areas of the ecosystem, we're actually gaining serious momentum. And so good tools, when you have really good tools, they give you velocity after leverage. Great tools like React and Expo and TypeGPU and WebGPL and Expo Observe and so forth, these things give you momentum. They give you the ability to iterate and improve and compound upon the work that you built previously. And so that's why, as people say, why do we need to use React anymore? Because we can just spit out 2 versions of the app with AI, but then you don't get the compound interest of the people in this room that have built incredible features and parts of the framework. And all of the stuff we've seen over the last couple days, you don't get the compound interest on that work. And that's, to me, why it's so important for us to keep investing in these tools and so forth, because momentum is the thing that's going to help us continue to improve the delta between idea and result. Now, back in the day, when you used to have an idea, it was a huge gap between that idea and that thing actually existing, right? You had to work with DevOps, you had to work with design, you had to work with back-end, infra, funding. You needed a lot of time. And now these resources are at everyone's disposal, which is incredibly exciting. But most ideas in the past never made it across this chasm. By a show of hands, how many of you have had a lot of stuff in your backlog that you never finished? How many of you started an app you never finished? Okay. And the other people with their hands down are not telling the truth. So, I'm just kidding. So All of us have had this experience, but I don't know about you, but in the last 6 months, more stuff that has been on my backlog for years has gotten done than ever before. Because I can put on good night, have fun, and go to work for the day and come back and have half of my app complete, and I didn't even spend any time on it. Now they're pretty simple things, but I think this is something that we should be really excited about and celebrating, because AI shrinks dramatically the delta between I want to make this and this thing exists. And no longer is the bottleneck going to be engineering capacity. It's going to be the human parts of it, which we'll come to in a minute. The mechanical parts have gotten really cheap. The boilerplate, the config wiring, so forth, that's all just basically not something you have to think about anymore. By a show of hands, how many of you have built one CRUD app? How many of you built 2 CRUD apps? How many of you built 3 CRUD apps? How many of you built 10 CRUD apps? Okay, so you're not at 50 yet. I'm at 50. In more ways than one, I'm at 50. But you're not going to have to do that anymore. We're going to be focusing on the parts that I think are much more fun and exciting. This is a super scientific chart of how software has changed over the past few years. In 2023, it was perfectly reasonable for you to say, oh, it's going to be 18 months from the time we kick this project off to the time that it's done. Now, it can be weeks, it can be months, maybe, but it can be also a single software engineer on a Friday comes up with an idea that they launch on a Sunday. And to me, that's incredibly exciting, because that means that you can now focus with all of this kind of free engineering capacity, or this ability to have a team behind you. You can focus on the parts that matter. In my opinion, these are judgment, leadership, knowing what to build. What is the product what is the next problem that needs to be solved? Communication, and the ability to have and apply delight and taste. The developers are going to thrive in this era, in my opinion. I believe that the people who understand systems, direct tools effectively, identify meaningful problems, make good decisions under ambiguity, and turn scattered possibility into coherent products. Does anyone want to guess what this sounds like? What does this list sound like? This is the engineering we've always done. But now you get to do it. The floor is higher, which means that we're going to be able to have the ability to stand on this floor and push the ceiling. I don't know if you all noticed it, but I noticed it. How beautiful were the slides people shared at this conference? Yeah. Just blew the lead. But anyway, the slides have just absolutely been gorgeous, and to me, that's a sign of the floor coming up. Everybody was able to stand on these tools and focus on their content and not spend so much time on the design, because they were able to get, as we showed with sort of the starter point of the new Expo app, they were able to get to beauty and delight more quickly. And the thing I'm super excited about, and this is kind of what I'm kind of getting to here, is like the industry is becoming more creative. If you have ideas and you have things that you want to bring into the world, you can do so. You can do it in a delightful and beautiful way, as we've seen. I mean, these slides, a lot of these slides were built by engineers, for goodness sake, and they were beautiful. So friction disappears, and if you've been following along, what is it that fills that vacuum? Ambition. Your ideas can be bigger than ever if you have all this capacity at your disposal. This is the thing I'm actually most excited about in all of this, because as I've shared with anybody who will listen, my North Star is helping other people bring their ideas to life. That's my personal North Star. And so for me, I'm most excited that the work we've done over the past decades to bring us to this point means that there's a lot more room for people to build, people who are not engineers, people who are, stay-at-home moms, or a doctor or a teacher, for goodness sake. Overworked teachers are, having these tools at their disposal is going to help unlock the ability to spend more time with kids. And something I've shared with a few people at this conference today is I'm super optimistic that the changes that we're seeing today are going to drive us back into more human physical connection, not just into more digital connections. If you imagine every product vertical out there being saturated, if every hotel has basically the same app for their hotel, your electronic key works and your check-in experience is great and so forth, then they're going to have to start focusing on what is the experience you're actually going to have when you're in the hotel, because everybody will be on par with one another. And so I'm super optimistic about us driving positive experiences back into the real world. But I'm most excited about seeing all the people and the people on this slide and not on this slide able to bring ideas to life, because I think we can agree there are a lot of problems in the world worth solving, and a lot of these people probably have great ideas because great ideas come from everywhere. So, this is the summation of the talk. One person with strong judgment, strong tastes, and the right tools can now create delightful things that used to require 10. And to me, this is one of the most inspiring moments of my entire career. So, here's the test. Let's see who's been paying attention. Who in this room is a builder? I see hands, but we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to say, I am a builder, and you're going to say it right after me. Let's try it. I am a builder. That's pretty good. I am a builder. I am a builder. I am a builder, Poland. Poland. It was a test. One more time. I am a builder. And it is one hell of a time to be a builder, folks. Thanks for taking the time to sit with me today. Really glad to be here. Go out and build something.